Good afternoon. It is a good afternoon. I got my family here from Shady. It's good to see you. Maybe others visiting. We're glad you're here. Stick around a few minutes after we give us a chance to get to know you. I gotta turn this thing on so it works. Okay, there we go. Good. We're going to be talking this afternoon. Go over your Bibles to Mark chapter 5. Mark chapter 5. We're going to begin in verse 1. I'll make the same disclaimer I made this morning. I talked to my wife this morning, checking in with her. She said, make sure you slow down. I don't know why people feel the need to tell me that. She's told me that now for 40 years. You need to pray for Pam and Sam. She's one of the most patient women that's ever walked the face of the earth. 40 years she has dealt with me, tried to raise me to the best of her ability. She is a 5th grade teacher. And I think she went back to teaching. When we first got married, I interrupted her educational degree. She got her MRS degree. I told that to somebody else, and she finished her education degree at UNC Charlotte finally, and she's been teaching now for the last 27 years. And I always used to teach people. I said, yeah, she went to school so she could teach people who would listen, because she was tired of me not listening, maybe as good as I should. So. Well, what a blessing to be back here. I've been in the valley before, but I've never been here in Mountain City. And it's an incredible blessing and a privilege to be here with you. The food is the same. You guys are awesome. And then you expect me to preach now. So the only thing I ask this special favor. If you nap, that's fine. Just don't snore. Don't interrupt us in any way with the snore, but if you want to just kind of doze off, be comfortable, that's okay. It's all good. As we go into Mark 5 this afternoon, the remainder of the week, my goal is to, in a simplistic way, equip you to be better disciples. Me to be a better disciple. This morning we started in class talking about what that means, and it really means to understand, okay, I've been forgiven, so now I have an obligation. I've got a responsibility. Since I've been forgiven, I've got to be an individual who has a forgiving spirit, but I've also got to share what God did for me because I've been forgiven. Then during the worship hour, I got long-winded, looked down the way. I'm sorry about that. That just happened this morning. I promise it won't be as bad this afternoon, okay? But then I wanted to make sure that you understood. If we're ever going to be disciples, we've got to first be servants. We've got to know that our responsibility in this world is to be a servant. That's why Jesus came. He didn't come to be served. He came to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. This is a really interesting occurrence here in Mark chapter 5. I want to try to read it carefully, and then we'll get into the thoughts. They came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gadarenes. And when he'd come out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs. Just get your brain around that for a minute. Where do you stay? I live in a cemetery. And no one could bind him, not even with chains, because he had been bound with shackles and chains. And the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles broken in pieces. Neither could anyone tame him. Always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out, cutting himself with stones. It's hard. Yeah, there's a great depiction of this in the video. But it's hard to imagine somebody this out of control, this being totally driven by something over which he had absolutely no way to stop it. Literally out of control. Now, as I mentioned to you guys earlier, through the years, for the last 25 years, we've had both AA and NA as a part of service to our community. It comes to meets in our building all the time. I've seen lives out of control. It is scary what narcotics and alcohol and all sorts of other addictive practices can do to individuals, how they can totally get a hold of someone, male or female, And they're no longer making their own decisions. There's something else that's driving them. This depiction of this individual, I think, is appropriate for a reason. I'll share that with you in a moment. When he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and worshiped him. I don't know how many times, Chuck, I read this passage. How do you go from wild, screaming, running, just rampant craziness, cutting yourself with stones, to all of a sudden falling? Worship in the New Testament normally has this appearance of you fall face forward, you just fall, and you bow before someone. So what caused this wild, crazy, out of control individual to realize I'm in the presence of something special? I'll turn. He cried out with a loud voice and said, "What have I to do with you, Jesus, the Son of the Most High God? I implore you by God that you do not torment me." Kind of gives a little indication right there. It's not the man that did this. You're going to find out who did in just a minute. Jesus said to him, he said, "Come out of the man, unclean spirit." Jesus never is not even, he's not addressing the crazy guy. Then he asked him, "What is your name?" He answered, saying, and this is the scariest, this reminds me of something. Once again, I mentioned a movie this morning that I wouldn't recommend. I don't know that I'd recommend. It's not Legion, but it's Legend. A movie about the world in a place and time where everything around one individual has just gone out of berserk, out of control. And it almost looks like demons, but I don't think they are demons. They're just beings that shouldn't be alive, but they are. And they're just intended to kill and maim and destroy. And he says, "For we are many." This is that ultimate thing in an individual. Teasing me with my wife, I tell her, I said, "Be careful. Don't there's too many voices in here. I've got to make sure I'm listening to the right one." Well, see, that's unfortunately what's going on with this crazy guy. In our lives, so many times there are so many voices, so many variant things that are going on. How in the world do you know who or which one to listen to? You'd be crazy too if all of these voices all were going on. And he says, he begged him earnestly that he would not send him out of the country. There's a lot about this dynamic with this demon stuff I don't understand. A large herd of swine were feeding there near the mountain. This is that moment in the video, if you were going, the camera kind of pans over and sees the pigs, and then kind of pans back to the crazy man and go, "Oh no, the pigs are going to get it." It'd be that moment of, why are they mentioned here? Well, they're in the neighborhood. So all the demons begged him, saying, "Send us to the swine that we may enter them." Chuck, I don't know. Maybe you got a good answer for this, but I don't. I don't have a good answer. I'm going, okay, I've been having my way in the demon-possessed man, been able to do whatever I want to, been able to throw him around, certainly and take care, control him, make him look like an idiot in the cemetery. Why do you want to go there? I want to tell you why I think, and this is just a guess, I don't have a good answer. When the devil and even his demons see Jesus, they quake in their hoods, if you will. Not the boots, but the hoods, whatever they have. Because they know whatever he says, they have to do. That's something that's really powerful about this story. Remember in Mark, it says, even the demons believe, but they can't do anything about it. The demons, I get this, and we don't have a lot of detail about this, but it's unfortunate to me. I think the demons are done. That's as sad. They're done. Like Satan's done. If an angel, any heavenly being, goes against God, it's over. There is no hope. Nothing. They're done. They're headed south. And I mean it in the most horrible way. And they know that. So going into the pig, I don't know what going into the pigs did for them. Because the pigs are so crazy. They just run off into the water. You know, it's what the large herd, the swine, and sent us in the swine. And at once Jesus gave them permission. Then the unclean spirits went out and entered the swine. About 2,000, get you, 2,000 pigs. And the herd ran violently down the steep slope and drowned in the sea. So those who led the swine fled and told it in the city and in the country. They were out to see what had happened. They came to Jesus. This is my favorite part of the story. And saw the one who had been demon possessed and had the legion sitting and clothed. Oh, that's a good thing. Naked people run around cemeteries, never good. Sitting and clothed and in his right mind. Now don't read, you already read it. I wanted to stop there because I want to have that moment of going, and you would be going, yes, right? That should be the response. The response should be, look what Jesus has done. That was not. I don't know that I fully get this response. It says they were thrilled. Some of you are going, what version are you reading from? It says they were afraid. Of what? Well, it could be very similar to what the demons were worried about earlier. Who is this? Who is this and what has he done? Because everybody in town knew the naked running through the cemetery demon possessed. I don't know what to call him. Crazy man, wild man. I don't know what his name was. But everybody knew this guy is out of control and he's dangerous. But they come out here and he's undone. I don't know if they're wondering, is he going to snap? Is this just temporary? I don't know. Notice the further part of the story. And those who saw it told them how it happened to him who had been demon possessed and about the swine. Then they began to say, man, tell us more about it. We want you to stay because we know there's something really good going on here. No, what do? They began to plead with him to depart. Okay, hit the pause button for a minute. Wait, okay. You're in the city. There's been a wild, crazy man out in the cemetery. You know that's not good for business. You know, what about, all the marketing, anybody coming to town? Nobody's going to want to come to a place where there's a wild, crazy man just down the street in the cemetery. You'd think this would be a good thing. When we don't understand things, one of our first responses is normally fear. Because I don't know how he did this, but it must not be good. Right? Remember the accusations in John. Oh, the only way you're doing this, and I love Jesus' response, the only way you're doing this is you must be a Beelzebub. You're the only body that can control the demons. No. Why would I do that? That's, one master against another. That makes no sense. Why would I do that if I were in control of the demons? It's interesting next what happens. However, no, I'm sorry. So when he got into the boat, if you've read enough of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Jesus, he doesn't usually stay where he's not wanted. He's not going to press. If you say, come on in, he'll come on in. If you tell him, leave me, He's not going to twist your arm. He's not going to go bend over backwards. He's not going to try to convince you. You don't want me here? That's fine. He gets in the boat. Here's the moment that's interesting. They who have been demon-possessed beg him that he might be with him. That part I understand without any kind of hesitation. I don't know how long he's been the wild, naked madman in the cemetery. Don't know how long he's been that way, okay? It's not going to be real easy for him to go back into town and start a normal life. He's already kind of, he's in his right mind now. He's going, they've always seen me as the wild man. What am I going to do? In our journeys, Jesus gives us the information that we need. Jesus did not permit him, but said to him, go home to your friends. Tell them what great things the Lord has done for you and how he has compassion on you. I've already said a lot of these things I kind of had up here instead of putting them up on the screen. I'm going to go, kind of didn't put them up. Why didn't he take him with him? I think that's a very valid. I want to share this afternoon 4 quick thoughts that I think equips us to do just exactly what this demon-possessed man did. We all would want to have and stay and be with Jesus. I understand that totally. But Jesus said, being with me. A lot of times when we're converted, there's this great blessing of being a part of the family of God. And the joy of that, being with each other, that's all powerful. But what did Jesus not do? He did not give him a crash course in evangelism. He didn't go, okay, now come here. Let me tell you exactly what you need to do and how you need to, because the demon's gone, and you're now a part of the family of God. And he goes, he didn't complicate the discipleship process for him. He gave him some simple instructions, but doable and understandable instructions. And I think if you'll give me just a minute this afternoon, I'll give you those. It's clear that the church only fulfills its function as the body of Christ if it is constantly thinking of those who are outside the kingdom inside. Jesus didn't do anything accidentally, okay? He heals the demon-possessed man for a reason. Who in the world could change this little community that doesn't want Jesus? You ever thought about that? They didn't want Jesus. They don't care what he does. We don't want you here. We live in a world, folks, that doesn't want Jesus. Now, there's some say, I want a relationship with Jesus, but I don't want the church. That's a whole different crew. That's a whole different sermon. But there are individuals in the world that do not want Jesus. Why? Because when Jesus shows up, life becomes, there's some things I have to do, and there's some things I can't do. And why do we not live in a world that's tired of people telling what they can't do? One of the major problems in our world right now is nobody is telling people what you're doing is wrong and you're in danger. We're just okay to let everybody do whatever they want to. The church never had that as a purpose, never had that as a goal. It wasn't accidental, folks, that Jesus comes. I mentioned this a little bit this morning. Jesus brings the church and the New Testament restrictions about moral behavior into the middle of the most decadent time in our history. He drops it into the Corinthian culture, who had prostitutes coming out of the temples. He drops it into the Roman culture that had all sorts of decadent behaviors, and says, those things that you're doing are wrong. Didn't apologize for saying that either. We can't be apologetic about what when we're trying to save people. And that's what Jesus did here. I'm about to get ahead of myself, and I go. That's what the challenge is. Go, make disciples. What did he tell him? First phrase there in Luke. tomorrow. Go home to your friends. First level of discipleship is go to the people you love. I'm going to challenge you this afternoon. In your circle of people that you care about very deeply, is there one that you know doesn't have a relationship with Jesus? I got a feeling there's more than one. Okay, I'm just going to start easy and start simple. Is there one person that is a part of your family and or friends that you know does not know the Lord as Savior, has not been responsive and obedient to the gospel of Christ through faith, confession, and baptism? Their eternity depends on you. You go, whoa, wait, what do you mean me? Who am I? Do you love them? That's an unfair question. I love her. I just lost his name. He was in a men's retreat over in the Carolinas. Jim McQuiggan, Irish guy. Love to hear him talk. He had some great books. One of the best books on Revelation I've ever read. But he was doing a men's retreat, and he looked us all in the eye. He said, "Don't you tell me you love me if you know I'm doing something wrong and you're unwilling to say something to me. Don't you even hint. Don't even act. If you care about me and I'm in trouble, you'll tell me." When we look at the demon-possessed man, what do we think? Before our relationship with Christ, we were outside following the devil, children of wrath. It's hard to see ourselves that way, right? I got a dear friend over in the Carolinas. He said, there's a song in the book. Now, there are a lot of songs, you know, I love songs, love music. Crew here knows that, especially the Shanty Crew, how much I love music. But he says that he can't sing the song, "Years I Spent in Vanity and Pride, Carrying Not My Lord is Crucified." How many of you have been in the church most of your life since you were children? I'm curious, right? That's a hard song to sing, right? Because you've never known. You didn't know life before Jesus, before God. But there are people in the world that have no clue about God, no clue about Jesus. They don't know. They could be our friends and our family that have that outside relationship, and they don't realize that they're in that much danger. I love this moment in Luke 16. Remember, this is the rich man, flames. He's dead. His eternity is set. What's the first thing he says? Send somebody to my family now. It's too late. He said, if somebody can, here is the absolute reality that Jesus shares. He said, they've got the truth. They've got access to it. If they won't believe, somebody coming back from the dead is not going to make a difference. Now, we'd sit here tonight or this afternoon and go, somebody comes back from the dead and tells me I'm not. No. You're either going to be responsive to the gospel or you're not. But you also, if somebody's got to tell you. I mentioned Tom and Glenn last night. The lady I mentioned this morning, she loved the fact I brought her name up twice. Mabel. I mentioned her this morning. She literally looked me in the eye one time and said, "Man, I love you and I appreciate you." She said, "You never would have converted me." I said, "Babe, what do you mean?" She said, "You're too nice." I said, "What's that mean?" She said, "I needed somebody to look me in the eye and tell me I was going to hell if I didn't change." Some people need that. You're never going to know who needs that until you have a relationship with someone. So go home to your friends. Number two, now see how simple this is? If you love somebody, tell them what Jesus did for you. Let's go back to the text. Y'all looking at me like I made that up. Go home to your friends and tell them what great things the Lord has done for you. What's the Lord done for you? We could be here the rest of the day, could we not? I have, there's so many things I want to share with you, but I'm going to be succinct about it. When I think about, there's a new favorite song Well, believe it or not, I got a new favorite song. And it's a contemporary song, but I've heard it put to a cappella version. How many of you have heard the song, The Goodness of God? Nobody. Well, I'm probably going to play it sometime this week. I'll do the a cappella version. All my life, he has been faithful. All my life. 11 years ago, almost lost our son to cancer. 2 years ago, I about left here. For some reason, God's given me another opportunity. And one part of it is I'm convinced is because Pam says now, I've always been honest with people, but I don't know that I've been abrupt at times. I've been too careful at times. I say stuff now I wouldn't even say before Chuck. I'd look at somebody and say, you need to straighten that. I care enough about you. Do you realize what you're doing? You're headed in a bad direction. I make phone calls now. I drop by and take people out to lunch. Sometimes people get nervous when I drop by. What do you want to talk about? It's all good. It's all good. We got to have the courage to tell what Jesus, tell me how much the Lord has done. Can I get a witness? That's what he's asking us to do. He's just simply saying, can I tell someone else what Jesus has done for me? Paul's sharing the truth was simply what Jesus had done. Look at Acts 22 and 26. We don't have time to look at it in detail, but read it. All Paul does in 22 and 26, he tells his story. I was on the road, saw a light, heard a man, made a decision. Best decision I've ever made in my life. That was his story. This would be our, look at Luke 21. I'm being really patient. It was Luke 21. And here in Luke 21, verse 10, what Jesus does here is interesting. He says, this is when he's sending the 70 out. Then nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. I'm not in the right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Earthquakes in various places, famines, pestilence. There will be fearful signs, great signs from heaven. But before all these things, they'll lay their hands on you, persecute you, deliver you to be the synagogues and prisons. You will be brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. I love the fact that Jesus has never said this is going to be easy. He said, I'm going to send you out and it's not going to be easy. But he was honest and said it's going to be worth it because he says next, before it will turn out for you as an occasion for testimony. Again, hit the pause button with me for a moment. How many times just this last week have you been in the presence of someone, they said or did something, and that thought came across your head, maybe I need to say this. How many times, huh? To a friend, coworker, wherever, family member, and you said, maybe not. And you walk away. I don't know how many times now. I don't do that anymore. Oh, it's created some situations. And you're there going, preachers can do that. Why can't family do that? And go ahead and say what needs to be said. Therefore, settle in your hearts not to meditate beforehand what you will answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom which all your adversaries will not be able to contradict or resist. You will be betrayed even by your parents and brothers, relatives, and friends, and they will put some of you to death. You will be hated by all for my name's sake, but not a hair of your head shall be lost. By your patience, possess your souls. But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by enemies, then you'll know the desolation is near. He goes off now in the next, this whole other section is about what's really going to come, destruction of Jerusalem, all that kind of crazy deal. But here he's telling them, I need you to be ready for the moment so that you can tell what Jesus has done for you. I love the song. This is a song I almost switched you to. You know, I love to tell the story of unseen things above, of Jesus and his love. My favorite verse in that, and Chuck probably echoes this, I love to tell the story to those that know it best. That's where we are this afternoon, folks. You're in the Wednesday nighter category on a Sunday afternoon. It'd be easy to be home, kind of chilling in the Sunday afternoon, especially easing up from work, but you're here because you have a desire to be more like him. I love to tell the story. And this is the part that really should drive it home. Notice back there in Mark 5 what he says. Keep closing my Bible. In Mark 5, when he's telling him what great things the Lord has done for you and how he has had compassion on you. You know the word compassion, compound word of with feeling. Jesus, one of the words that's made, there's no condition that Jesus doesn't care about. Not one. Peter could share his story because he knew how much he was loved. I wish we had time to look at John 21. That to me is one of those more powerful moments in the life of Peter and Jesus. There, remember by the seashore? They're out in the boat, big catch of fish. Once again, Peter goes, he hears John yell, "It's the Lord!" That's the worst thing Peter could have heard at that moment in his life, because he's going, oh no. Accountability. Last time I saw him, he was on the cross. What's he going to say to me now? Have you ever, just for a minute, give yourself, have you ever wondered what Jesus will say to you personally? See, Peter's dilemma was, he had just said, I don't know him, I don't know him, and he used several other choice words right before he died. And now he's on the shore, and he wants to talk to me. What's going to happen now? Simon? I can just see Peter going, what's next? That's my name. You gave it to me. Do you love me? Well, that's the question. I know the answer to that question. Yes. Do you love me? Lord, you know. Simon. Now I know we do it, and I don't know if you do this word gymnastics here. I don't know if Jesus softens it. The text in the original language seems to go love, love, like. I don't know. Maybe is he letting Peter know? I don't know. Whatever it is, I do know that threes have a signature meaning in Scripture, and I think Peter got it because he then said, "Do you love me, Lord? You know I love you. Feed my sheep." Paul could share the story because he remembered why he had been forgiven. Jesus loves me, this I know. And Jesus, the Bible, tells me so. So, real quick. What do you do? What's the way you share and tell a story? You go home to that friend or that family member that you thought of when I asked you at the first, that you know doesn't have a relationship with God. Or maybe you're straight. I love the prayer this morning. We need to do a better job of reaching out to those who once had a relationship and trying to reestablish them. Whatever it takes. Too many times we say, I'm only one person, I can't possibly make a difference. You tell the crazy, naked, wild man in the cemetery that. Because you know what happens the next time Jesus shows up on this same shore? They want Jesus. Why? Because the crazy wild man went into town and told his family and friends what Jesus had done for him. One person can make a phenomenal difference. Jesus has healed us from the demons in our lives, right? I ask you this afternoon, how many demons has he driven out of you? Maybe still in the process of driving. It is a great blessing to know he has left us here for a reason. I remember, and I get this more now than I ever have before, because I remember one of the discussions with my son. It was right after his lung surgery, which was more painful than the foot surgery. He had cancer in his lungs as well. And he was hurting and he was angry. He said, he looked at me and he said, Dad, I'm ready to go home. He wasn't talking about 225 Blackberry Trail. He was talking about going home. He had been hurting for days. He was weak after the chemo. I looked at him and said, I know you do, but remember what Paul said. I have a desire to depart and be with Jesus, which is far better. Nevertheless, to remain in the flesh is more necessary. I need you here. God needs us here. Go home. Tell your friends. What are you going to tell them? What incredible things God has done for you and how much He loves you. And He wants to do that for the people in your life. We can help in any way this afternoon. Initial penitent confession of Christ as Lord, penitent faith in baptism. Or maybe there's something in your life that we could pray about. I meant that this morning. I know this is a praying crew. I'm so appreciative of the crew from Shady praying for me over the last couple of years during my journey through the traffic accident, Caleb's journey through cancer. I believe in the power of prayer. If there's something in your life that's wrestling you right now, let it go. Let us know about it so we can pray about it with you and for you. I know the elders and Chuck here will be more than happy to assist you in any way. We can do that in any way. Would you come as we stand and as we sing?